Hello my friends and welcome back. It's Friday, the end of the week. Happy Friday to you. You and I survived. But you know who didn't survive? 2,200 Russian soldiers listed as casualties by the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense. This is the absolute new record of a 24-hour period in the whole time of the full-scale invasion. Since 2022, 2,200 Russians set a new record just before Christmas. I guess they wanted to deliver a Christmas present to Putin. Also, bear in mind the number of vehicles and fuel tanks. It's 150, and add to that 42 artillery systems, 24 armored personnel carriers. You add all of that together, you get hundreds of vehicles and fuel tanks and artillery, hundreds destroyed, and 2,000, like, it's a lot. It's a Christmas present for Putin and to me also, because this is my last video before Christmas. It's a good way to go. Also, if you think I'm a psychopath not having any empathy for the fallen Russian soldiers, then you're right. I don't have any empathy for the Russian soldiers, occupiers. I'm fine with the number I see. Now, my friends, we're gonna look at the video of Russians celebrating on the front, I guess, the new record they just set. This is a Russian party, happened yesterday on the front line. They have bottles, they're hugging each other, they're celebrating the arrival of Christmas. By the way, Russian Christmas is in January, early January. I think this is whiskey, they're opening up whiskey and talking war stories to each other, so they're happy as I am about the new record their army just set in the losses numbers. My friends, one of Russia's most efficient weapons is export of fear and also disinformation. This is why I have partnered with Ground News, because they, much like me, are fighting on the front line of the information war. You can check them out by using my link in the description below at ground.news/Artur for 50% off the Vantage plan. Ground News is a world's top news comparison site. This is their homepage, and I have chosen to click on For You, which is, for me, personalized news, Ukraine and Ukraine war, my topics. And I have chosen this specific news to illustrate their fantastic tools. Tucker Carlson announces interview with Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov. We can see on the top right corner that total news sources is 43, so it is a very well covered news. And bias distribution is also illustrated as 65% leaning right. If we look at a factuality, then it's 48% high factuality, which is barely on the margin for me. Anything below 50% high factuality, I would take it with a grain of salt. If you want, you can keep your eye on the ownership tabs. Why is it important? Because owners always have agendas for their news agencies. Also here you can see all of the different wordings of the titles of different news sites publishing on this topic. The title already and the words chosen tell you quite a lot about the agenda behind it. You can see the wording that each news house used to cover this topic. For example, National Post, immediately you get this green sign, individual, Leon Cooperman. Or if you go down to Bloomberg, individual, Michael Bloomberg. Each individual has their own agenda, each wording sends a different message. Here, Ground News lays it all right in front of you for you to check. Scroll between different headlines to cover the same topic to choose which one is most neutral. On the warfare against Russian disinformation, Ground News is a fantastic tool to have. And if you really want to know what you don't know, you can click on the blind spot. It shows you the areas of a certain topic that most news sites don't publish. Check them out using my link in the description below at ground.news/Artur to get 50% off the Vantage plan. Thank you, Ground News, for sponsoring today's video. I think, last video before Christmas, it's a perfect time to recap December. So what happened in December in the shortest way possible? Syria has been dumped. A missile engineer was unalived. General Kirillov was unalived, a high-ranking officer, part of the general staff. Vessels have crashed. I mean, we're talking about the 2 oil tankers that sunk, but actually, we'll get to it later in this video, but it's 3 oil tankers now. Yeah, I'm not kidding you. And a huge spill of mazout or fuel oil took place. Russia's borderline zone is under constant shelling and drones even reached Chechnya. The madman is leading a country towards the abyss. Now that we have recapped December, let's go on. This next segment can be called hits or strikes, and there's plenty of them. I'll go through one by one. I'm gonna enjoy every second of this last video before Christmas. We begin with Russian air defense shot down their own $16 million worth of Ka-52 attack helicopter. This is actually reported also in a Russian Telegram channel, and Fighter Bomber, one of the most famous Russian military bloggers in Telegram, reported what they always say when something like this happened: eternal flight, brothers. May you fly eternally. And they even admit that this was their own air defense that shot it down. Such a weird death cult Russia is. If it happens in the West, friendly fire, blue on blue, to shoot down their own helicopter, I mean, this would be followed by a military tribunal, a full investigation. But in Russia it is eternal flight, brothers. You're now with, I don't know where the Russians go when they die, to a Soviet apartment building, Panelka. I think they're now eternally in that Panelka. Now, my friends, we go on with the strikes because Storm Shadow missile was used for the very first time in the Russian Oblast of Rostov. Yes, Rostov region. It's a beautiful thing to say. The first moments after the attack on the oil refinery in Novosibirsk. You gotta appreciate the names. Rostov region in Russia. Judging by the footage, the oil processing unit and tank has been hit. The refinery was already burning after a strike 6 months ago. It wasn't burning for 6 months, but it was damaged. Well, you can see on the footage, like the Russians like to say all the time, oh, we shot down the storm shadows. No, we shot down like 100,000 storm shadows, but it was the debris that hit this oil refinery. Well, it is burning here, feeling free and nice and beautiful and warm, fully burning. Like I said, first ever storm shadow used on Rostov Oblast. Nice. This was confirmed by the General Staff of Ukraine. The facility supplied Russian armed forces with fuel, specializing in producing mazout, diesel, furnace and marine fuel with a capacity of 7.5 million tons of oil annually. A fire has been confirmed at the catalytic cracking unit, oil cracking unit. You could almost say that this oil refinery is now smoking crack because it's burning at... Okay, I'll stop with the dad jokes. Let's go on. As a result of the first storm shadow strike of the entire war on the Rostov region of Russia, Kamensk-Shakhtinsk, damn what a name, plant for production of missile oil was damaged. Now, a weird thing about that is that this is one of the closest plants, oil refineries to the Ukrainian border. Is like 15 kilometers from the border, and it has been attacked, I think, only 2 times, about 6 months ago and now. So we don't know why Ukrainians did not attack it. Well, they did now, better late than never, but it had been producing fuel oil and diesel and gasoline for 3 years. At the time of the full-scale invasion, only 15 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. Well, I guess Putin was like, whoa, what is that doing there so close to us? Hit it with Storm Shadow, and now it's burning. By the way, Russians expanded this fuel refinery, built it twice as large in the last 3 years. Like when the full-scale invasion began, now it's 100% larger. They enlarged it, only 15 clicks from the Ukrainian border. Another interesting fact is that this oil refinery was defended by a full battery of S-300 or S-400s. There were big amounts of air defense capabilities present all the time, which is not the case for any Russian refinery, but it was the case for this one. So Russians really did not want Ukrainians to hit it. It still happened. Talking about the air defense that was present, first of all, what we can deduct from this attack is that the whole battery could not shoot down the Storm Shadow missiles. I mean, or by the Russian information it could, and it was the debris that hit the refinery. Well, in this video we can actually see a massive amount of air defense fire. Russians were trying to shoot it down. They fired many missiles against it, air defense missiles, but they didn't succeed. Don't just take my word for it about this attack. I mean, in this video, a man is walking through a field in Rostov region showing us pieces of Storm Shadow missiles all over this field just before the refinery. Boom, here's another one. Well, let's see, what kind of pieces are they? Debris of one of the Storm Shadow missiles at Rostov region. Hey, I guess they did shoot down one. Wow, good for them. Their pieces are all over the place, as you can see. And by the way, Ukrainians photographed the missiles when they shot them. And these beautiful photos are published actually officially by the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense. They're very nice. This is the very first Storm Shadow missile ever that flew into the Rostov Oblast of Russia. Very beautiful. It brings tears into my eyes. It is truly a visual Christmas present for me. Now we go to other side of Russia, and I literally mean the very other side of Russia, as far east almost as you can go, because we go to Novosibirsk and a military unit in Novosibirsk. This video is made inside the military unit, but not by the Russian military personnel, but by the opposition. Yes, there is still an aggressive fighting opposition in Russia, can you believe it? Well, they snuck into this military base, no guards, no surveillance, what do you know? I mean, you cannot surveil so many military bases, or in Russia they just don't want to do it, it takes a lot of effort. And they set fire to a few of the fuel trucks. Boom, here they go up in flames. I guess opposition in Novosibirsk also wanted some Christmas warmth to the soul. It does warm my soul if I see these Russian fuel trucks burning, so thank you again for this Christmas present, Russian opposition. Now, I mean, we went to the far east, Siberia. Now we're going to the far north, again, almost as far north as you can go in Russia. And here we can see Russian Northern Fleet, the harbor, on this CCTV footage. Oh, bada bing, bada boom. This is about 10 clicks away from the harbor. Local residents report about 2 big explosions. This was one. Let's see if we can see another one. Not on this video. Well, you can see it here. Murmansk, Russia. Locals post video of explosions. 2 explosions reported somewhere near main naval base of Russian Northern Fleet. It's very nice. I told you, many Christmas presents in today's video, and now we're done with the strikes. I can move on. And what do I want to move on to? Well, Russian soldiers. Here we can see the newest batch of Russian meat preparing to go to the front. But I gotta say, this Russian meat is, you know, best before dates. Well, they don't have preservatives in them. Russians really don't have them. So this meat is, the best before is over. They're all like 60 and over, 55, 53, 56. And they're having issues with changing the magazines fast enough. I'm not saying that 60 is old to enjoy life. It is the time when you should enjoy life, but definitely not be in the military. You should be retired or close to retirement and enjoy time with your wife and grandchildren and children. But these guys are struggling to change them, like the magazines. The last guy is 60. I'm not judging. If they want to be a soldier, that's fine. But I would make different choices in my 60s. Now we jump to another training field where another patch of Russian meats. In this time, young, fresh soldiers, fresh meat. Best before is not coming for the next month. They're training to avoid Ukrainian FPV drones. And let's see what the newest batch of Russian meat is training with. Look at it. The most advanced army in the world, and they're using strings attached to a dummy FPV. And what their tactic is, just falling to the side, one or other side. Well, I have news flash to the Russian troops. Ukrainian FPV pilots train for months on, like non-stop for months on simulators. Then they train on a field. You cannot avoid these FPVs. They will fly towards you. If you fall to the side, they will go for another round, or they will hit the ground next to you, missing you, but the explosion still gets you. There is no way to avoid them. And even if you avoid one, if you're lucky, another one comes. So you, as an infantryman, you cannot really avoid FPVs. The defense against FPVs is done electronically, otherwise you go to the Soviet apartment building where all Russians go when they die. Now we jump to another frontal area where Russian soldiers are demonstrating their offensive maneuvers. This is a Russian troop with a scooter. But wait, it's not an electric scooter. Hold your horses. This one is a regular scooter. You gotta really physically apply your feet's muscles to make it move. But I gotta have this warning to the Russian troops. I mean, you know what happened to the chemical defense chief, Kirillov? He was unalived in Moscow by an electric scooter. There were 200 to 300 grams of explosives in that scooter, and the guy is now in the apartment building where all Russians go when they die. So be careful with that scooter. It might explode in your hands. Hey, as you can see, my friends, I'm having fun. It's my last video, man, this year, so I'm enjoying myself. This year, the number of Russian military personnel in Ukraine has increased by 100,000 compared to last year. Commander-in-Chief of Armed Forces of Ukraine, Syrsky, says that. So this is the official Ukrainian information. There's no reason to doubt this. I mean, Russians themselves are also reporting this. Everybody is reporting this, actually. So 100,000 troops more in Ukraine on the Russian army in 2024 than in 2023. Makes sense. Now, my friends, let's go to Crimea. Yes, I know you want to have some beach vacation resort. You wouldn't want to vacate or have your relaxed time on this beach, because this is the aftermath of these two, well actually now 3 Russian oil tankers that sunk, like fully sunk to the bottom of the Kerch Strait. They were filled with oil, mazout, which is like fuel oil, very thick, as you can see on the video. All of that fuel oil has now spread to like over 100 kilometers of the Kerch Strait beach area. All of these settlements here are usually like resorts. They have spas, they have vacation homes, but it's filled with this black mass now. And I'm not talking about the Johnny Depp's movie, but this is literal black mass, and you cannot really relax here. By the way, Russians really don't care officially about ecological disasters, because, as I said before, climate warming for them is actually a good thing, because one of the goal of Peter I and every Russian Tsar after that has been getting their hands on a warm water port. And when the climate gets warmer, they are getting these ports more, because most of their shoreline is frozen in the north. So if that ice melts like permanently, it's good for the Russian northern fleet. So they don't care. And it can be seen in this video also, because these are not state-mandated cleaning efforts here. These are volunteers, and there's only 3 of them cleaning, 1 of them filming. There's nobody else on this beach. Nobody. Oh, damn! I was wrong. Check it out. There's 2 other teams doing this. Well, they have 100 more kilometers to go, so I think it takes them like 10 years to clean it up. Thing is, yeah, we know they're volunteers. We get that information. The government is not issuing to clean this up. People have to do it themselves, and when they get tired, nobody does it. Oh, by the way, don't take my word for it that the 3rd tanker sank. Of course, I was going to show you a video. I should have done it before. This is the video filmed from the 3rd tanker. It sank a few days after. You can already see the huge spillage of oil right here. Boom, look at this black mass here. Again, not talking about the Johnny Depp's movie. This is the sinking process of the 3rd tanker. It is filmed by Jack and Rose, who are the last ones on this tanker, and when it capsizes, they are gonna hold on before Rose survives on the door and Jack decides to just go under, go to the apartment building where all Russians go when they die. This is the 3rd tanker. 3 of them sank, and I'm gonna read you this paragraph because I think it's pretty interesting. I mean, why do these tankers sink? Tankers shouldn't sink because of waves. They're built to endure waves. And many of you have commented that they're river tankers. Well, that might be it. I'm actually not going to celebrate this. This is an ecological disaster. But what happened that the third tanker sank? Either it's sabotage or it's something potentially worse, an engineering failure. The last time ships split apart and sank like this in numbers was in World War II. Those ships were hastily designed and made Liberty ships. The reason behind their failure were explained by the nascent, what the hell is this word, field of the fracture mechanics. If modified and or repairs were engineered by those with expertise and heritage in fracture mechanics to the Russian shadow fleet, then this will happen again and cause further environmental disasters. Now this is the key point. The point is, yeah, 3 have sank in the Kerch Strait. Okay, Russians gotta clean it up and they don't. It's their shoreline, but it's really bad for like the animals and fish and birds. But they also have their shadow fleet of these similar tankers, river tankers, going all across the seas of the world, like everywhere. Far East, Baltic Sea, Northern Fleet, everything is filled with Russian shadow fleet. They have 250 plus ships in that fleet, not insured, not maintained, and they're not intended for this kind of usage because they're used like secretly. So they will start breaking apart, putting oil and mazout and all of that stuff all over the shorelines. This is going to be really bad for the Western countries also. They have to clean it up. So this will happen more. Now, my friends, will jump to a railway transporting North Korean self-propelled guns, self-propelled howitzers to the front. Russians are getting a new batch of them. And I think the title of this video actually says it all. Miles of North Korean artillery units heading into Ukraine. Imagine if Ukraine's allies were as serious about letting Ukraine win as Russia's allies are about destroying the Western world. I would love to see Western aid arriving in Ukraine in similar quantities. We're yet to get there, but we will. Now, I want to show you a photo of a Russian school class. You know, every class takes a photo every year. That's what they do. Well, this is what the Russian kids did. If you have a kid, or if you once did have a kid who's like 13, 12, you remember when they went to school, it's like, oh, we took a photo today. It was the class photo day. You know, parents know about this. And you see the photo later, and it's like, ah, fine, nice photo. Well, this is this very same moment you just remembered about your kid, but in Russia. They go home and show this photo to their parents. It's like, look, we made a photo. We made this little cool Z symbol right here. We had these matching T-shirts. And the parent is like, well done, Vanya, well done. One of these days you're going to go to the front yourself and we can be proud. So it's not Putin's war. It's war of every Russian person living in Russia who is enabling, endorsing this war, allowing their kids to do this kind of photos and to be brainwashed. So this is why I have no empathy for the Russian soldier, because some of them maybe are forced, yeah, but most of them are enabling all of this. They are proud about going to Ukraine to do the things they're going to do there, and they're boasting about it in social media, sharing videos, talking how they're going to do stuff to Ukrainian soldiers. I've seen these videos, many of them, thousands of them actually. So, yeah, no empathy on my part. Putin held his end of the year annual press conference, whatever you want to call it, and it's pretty interesting stuff came out of it. So let's analyze it together. Let's try to keep it as short as possible. Anton Krashenko is a wonderful analyst. I always include him in my videos because he just does God's work on analyzing stuff. My general conclusions about Putin's annual conference. Putin speaks and acts in an increasingly emotional and paranoid manner. He lives in his own world. He called this war some action. It is shocking and says a lot about him and his condition. So, Putin is 72 years old. In fact, he is now the Russian Tsar. He does not care about the prospect of Russia's development over the decades. He doesn't think that in long term, because it doesn't look like he wants to leave behind the Putin dynasty in power. The only thing he is focused on and wants is to go down in history as the victory over the West and the gatherer of Russian lands. And he realizes that his own time is quite limited, so he will be in a hurry. You know, this title, the gatherer of Russian lands, it's not just words here. This is what most Russian Tsars have ambitions to do. I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact Tsar who was called this, but he expanded to the Far East and took this vast lands of Siberia into the Russian Empire. So he was titled as the gatherer of Russian lands, which is one of the biggest honor as a Tsar you can get. Putin wants that. He wants to be next to Peter the Great in the future history books of Russia. Putin, the gatherer of Russian lands. So in his goal, it's not about the happiness of Russian people, the growth of the economy, the integration of Western values into Russia. No, it is that him personally will be called the gatherer of Russian lands, and he will use any means necessary to do this. Again, he is 72, so he has a few years, maybe a decade to complete this from now. So he is in a hurry. By the way, I gotta mention, if he wouldn't have invaded Ukraine, let's, rewind back a little bit. Europe was Russia had Europe in the palm of their hands. Gas exports, oil export, Germany was fully manipulated by Russia. If he would have continued to play the slow and quiet game that nobody recognized, I mean some did, but most didn't in Europe, he would have gotten everything. But he decided to hurry and invade Ukraine, and now it all blew up. So, he wants to be the gatherer of Russian lands, but he will be the destroyer of the Russian Empire. By the way, in this press conference, for some reason, they did allow NBC journalists, Keir, Hardy, Brennan, Simmons, what a name, to ask a question in English from Putin. And let's just, for a moment, listen what he asked.
You don't mind. Sorry, Mr. Peskov. The first one is about President-elect Trump. Mr. President, you have failed to reach the objectives of your special military operation. Large numbers of Russians have died, including a general assassinated here in Moscow this week. And the leader of Syria, who you supported, has been overthrown. Mr. President, when you face President-elect Trump, you will be the weaker leader. How do you propose to compromise? What are you going to offer? And my second question, Mr. President, is this. The mother of an American journalist who is missing in Syria, Austin Tice, has written to you and asked for your help to try to find him because she says that you have such connections.
So, the first question, and he says, you are the weaker leader when you sit down with President Trump. What are you going to offer? Why would you be part of the deal if you cannot offer anything? He puts it very straight and asks this. Unfortunately, I don't have Putin's answer to you here, but this question is it's one of the best questions to ask him, actually, directly. Well done, NBC journalist Keir Hardy, Brennan Simmons. Also, well done with your name, man. Nice name. Now I have plenty of videos which I decided to show you here, but maybe I'm not going to do it. Putin speaks about different topics, he's like very delusional, makes jokes, but at the same time, like, people are dying on the front. One of the jokes, I don't know if he thinks it's a joke or not, but in this video we actually, I will quote it to you. It's in Russian, so I'll quote. I propose an experiment to the West, a high-tech duel. Designate a target in Kyiv, move all our air defense there, and we'll hit there with Oreshnik and see. So Putin says that, okay, you use your Western air defense, move it all around the defensive object, and we'll strike it with Oreshnik, and let's see if your air defense can catch our Oreshnik. He proposes this kind of deal. So you can tell he's taking it all very lightly. He's living in his own, like, perfect world where nothing is wrong, and we can do these kind of games, these kind of duels, actually. No harm done, let's try it out. So you can analyze his mindset with this, where he is. He's not connected with the realities on the ground and with the realities of the Russian economy. All the links are in the description. I have countless videos of Putin explaining different things from this press conference. They're pretty funny, some of them, actually, so go and enjoy yourself. But now we'll jump to Russian economy, actually. And The Economist, yeah, the publisher, the news site, the journal Economist, posts an article which is very interesting. For the first time since the start of the full-scale war, Ukraine is winning the economic war against Russia. This is said by Economist, and there's a whole article about it. And I'll bring you the most important information only. Thanks to government decisions and Western aid, the Ukrainian economy is ahead of Russia in several key indicators. The GDP growth forecast, the The interest rate in Ukraine is 13.5. I mean, it's high, but hryvnia, the Ukrainian currency, is stable. I mean, their economy fell almost 30% in 2022, and hryvnia is stable. If you think about that, if you know anything about economy, it's a massive feat. It's almost a miracle. Ukrainian currency is stable, with their economy falling 1/3 in 1 year. That was 2 years ago. It's magnificent. They have handled this stuff pretty greatly. But there are also problems in Ukrainian economy. A shortage of electricity, money and people. In 2025, almost the entire budget deficit will be covered by aid from Western partners. Yeah, it's not black and white in this case. But everybody thinks Ukraine is, I mean, they're done. There's 30% gone in 1 year, more fall in the next year. But now we're predicting, economists actually is predicting close to 5% growth to Ukrainian economy in 2025. This is massive. All right, my friends, now let's jump to Syria. And we have a bit of a funny video. Well, let's look at the map first. Artur, maybe I'm saying that weird. Well, this is a base where, this is a city and facility where Russians have their assets, I mean, personnel, trucks, everything. We have a video of Russians leaving. Check this out. I mean, you can see it. It's Russian flags, fuel trucks, everything. They're leaving this base. And on the very next day, we get another video, and it's, whoa, what is this? It is United States moving in. Look at this. Boom, we have the US flag on a Humvee. This is a beautiful sight. There will be no vacuum. Immediately Russians left, the US took over. I'm sure you know much more about this than I do, but it's just this video alone is a very nice thing to see. It represents the crumbling of the Russian Empire. Let's call it what it is, the Russian colonies. They're falling, they're changing sides. Now, how is the Russian evacuation process going on in Syria? Well, these are the newest Maxar satellite photos of Kyiv and Tartus bases. Both of these bases have a massive amount of vehicles just lined up to be transported to the ships or transported to the plane. Look at this. All of this massing up here, gathering from all across Syria and just massing here one by one to be transported either to Africa or back to Russia and from there possibly to Ukraine. So we're also talking about S-400, S-300 radars and surface-to-air missile batteries, other equipment. But, I mean, these radars and missile batteries, they are the most expensive and valuable pieces of equipment Russia has in Syria, and they're evacuating them. We talked about Russian and Ukrainian inflation, but how about Syrian inflation? We got new news about it yesterday. Syrians massively carry bags of money to banks. Inflation in Syria has reached record levels, devaluating the national currency to a level where a monthly income is enough to buy only 20 liters of gasoline or 10 loaves of bread. In order to preserve their savings, people are actively converting liras, which is the Syrian currency, into foreign currencies, mainly dollars and euros. The exchange rate is approximately as follows: 10 kilograms of Assad's papers, or liras money, to $1. We're talking about money in the weight terms, so 10 kilograms of this cash equals $1. So they have hyperinflation, and we know what happens to a country when they do hit hyperinflation. They need a rebuild from zero. The money needs, there has to be money change, devaluation. I mean, the rebel government has massive issues with this. It's one thing to overthrow a government. It's a completely other thing to build up a country and an economy, especially when you're under sanctions, which Syria is, even under the new rebel government. And the EU and USA has firmly said that we will lift the sanctions, or we'll think about it, if you remove the Russian military bases. So Kyiv and Tartus are still evacuating, as you saw from the satellite imagery. Before they're fully gone, the rebel government cannot, it's not possible to build up the country and the economy. So this inflation will get worse until all Russians leave Syria. And I got some new photos for you, because the newest Assad photos just dropped, again gathered from one of his palaces. Look at this. This one is Assad right here. They're having fun with the friends. I don't know what they're doing. I don't want to have any thoughts about it. But yeah, the new photos just dropped. I don't know, put it on your t-shirt, start selling merch or something. But I'm sure he didn't want these photos out there. And now, my friends, for the very last time this year, because my next video will be on January 6th. Yes, next video, January 6th. Please put it in your calendar and just check my channel then. Because as every YouTuber or military blogger, I have this fear of when I go away that people don't visit this channel anymore. So it's very scary for me to take a break. But I am doing this because I think it's the right thing to do. So yeah, January 6th, I'll see you again. But for the last time this year and before Christmas, I want to honor the supporters and monthly members of Buy Me a Coffee of my channel. They are the foundation. They are the reason I can do this so stable. And every active monthly members will get a Rehi patch. I'll send it out to you. All you gotta do is become a member and shoot me a message and buy me a coffee, and I'll be sending this out to you. A lot of you guys, like hundreds, have gotten this already. I'm gonna butcher some names for the final time. Stanley Patrick Hai, Sam Spenker Peters, George A. Clark. First three names have 3 words in them, long names. Jackson Legge. Jackson Legge is legendary, because I don't know how many times I said your name this year, but you keep coming back. I'm not complaining. I'm grateful, man. Thank you. And let me know in the if you have this, I will send it to you. Until my next video, my friends, which will be on January 6th. So be sure to be back. Spend time with your family. Take time off in the Christmas. Be grateful for what you have, because it could go away any moment. Be thankful. Be mindful. Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye.